Oh man, look, there it is!
We got it. We have contact.
Guys, I am really sorry, but we have been keeping a secret from you. A pretty big secret, actually. Like, for many years. Alright. Time to reveal. To clear our conscience. To let you guys know what's going on. 5 years ago, yes, 5, we tracked down the original, screen-used GMC General that Knight Rider used for filming in seasons 3 and 4. We've known where it has been since 2016. But the secrets don't stop there. A year and a half ago, we showed up, unannounced at the owner's farm in literally the middle of nowhere, Idaho, and we bought the rig. That's right, guys. The Knight Rider historians own the Flag Semi. Well, part of it at least. Hear me out. So how did we not only find it, but verify that yes, it is indeed the actual General used in the show? Well, it involved many, many years of work, literally many years of work. To understand how we found it, you first have to understand how the General was placed on the show to begin with. In the 1970s, a product placement firm was founded called the Vista Group. Vista was responsible for arranging vehicle product tie-ins for tons of movie and television shows from the 70s all the way up through the 2010s, actually. As well as large sponsored events like racing, new product line launches, you get the idea. They were responsible for placing such iconic vehicles as the GMC Vandora in the A-Team, as well as vehicles for Miami Vice, Riptide, Airwolf. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. Vista Group was also personally responsible for brokering the deal between Universal Studios and Pontiac to obtain the first Trans Ams used in Knight Rider, as well as, you guessed it, the GMC General used as the Semi. Now, if you watched our other video on the Semi, you know that the studio actually used 2 different GMC Generals. The first one, a 1980 model, was used in seasons 1 and 2. Vista Group then arranged to get a brand new 1984 model for the start of season 3. The studio added a fake sleeper on the back to change things up a bit from the original Semi and to just be more consistent with the interior set. Anyways, back to Vista Group. In 2011, while we were in Los Angeles, we met with the transportation department to talk about Knight Rider, the transportation department of Universal Studios, I should say. And our contact there, who we now consider a friend and is now retired, introduced us to the people responsible at Vista Group. We learned all kinds of fascinating information from our long meeting with them, and over the course of the following years, we met with them a few more times and became friends with them. During the course of these discussions, it was brought up that they still had their vehicle management software loaded on a vintage and now obsolete mainframe, and they arranged for us to take possession of it to try and recover the data. Unfortunately, when Vista Group moved offices many years prior to us meeting them, all of their paper files were thrown out, making this antiquated computer the only potential source of information on the Knight Rider vehicles. Over the course of the following 4 years, yes, it took 4 years, we were able to recover nearly all of the vehicle data that was on this computer, which dated to 1987, by the way. The software used on this machine was so obsolete that even professional data recovery services couldn't help, so we had to devise our own new and sometimes unconventional techniques to recover the data. Now, just a side note on Vista Group. Unfortunately, they shut down operations in about the mid-2000s, and a few years later, the president and founder of the company, and someone we considered a friend, unfortunately passed away. So suddenly, we became the sole caretakers of all this fantastic data we were about to see. When we first laid our eyes on this abundance of car data, we could not believe it. thousands of vehicles, listing their year, make, model, color, what productions they were rented to, and yes, the coveted and all-important VINs, or vehicle identification numbers. But naturally, the first thing we did when we got this list was do a control find and search for the keyword night. And that's when the real fun began in regards to the semi. The search concluded, and right in front of our eyes was the actual VIN for the GMC General, clearly listing its use in Knight Rider, as well as a few other productions. And if you saw our other video on the semi, that's how we were able to figure out the other shows and movies that the semi was in. Murder, She Wrote, Number One with a Bullet, Steel Color Man. It's because we had this data. It also listed the mileage when they initially assigned it to Knight Rider, and it was only 1,201 miles. It was a brand new rig. It also confirmed that the license plate we see on the show for the third and fourth season, California plate 2J01192, was not a prop plate, but it was actually the real California license plate for the rig. How cool is that? Because remember, they use this rig on the road to transport equipment, cars, you name it, so they needed a valid license. So now it's 2016 and we have the VIN, but now what? Well, we did what any good Knight Rider historian will do, and we initiated a massive nationwide search, and after a little bit we ended up getting a hit on the VIN in Idaho of all places. But the last record was from 2003. So was the General sent to the scrapyard at that time? Or was it just parked? We had no idea. Satellite photos of the address had revealed nothing. It wasn't until later that year that a friend of ours, who we'll keep nameless here unless he chooses if he wants to come forward or not, made contact with the owner by phone and finally confirmed that the General still existed. It had just been parked. So not much happened over the next couple of years, but in late summer of 2019, we decided that we had to do something before the opportunity was gone forever. We've learned in the past, you have to jump on these things when the opportunity's there. So we flew out to Idaho, completely unannounced, and showed up at this guy's house. It was a very wonderful and positive experience, and the owner directed us to the semi's location, which was not at his house, but at some other land that he owned far away and literally in the absolute middle of nowhere in Idaho. So after the show ended, Universal Studios kept the General for a few more years and used in some other productions, which again, if you want to see those other productions, go to our other semi video and check it out. We'll put a link in the description below. When it was determined that Universal Studios no longer had a need for the General, they first removed the fake sleeper that Special Effects Department added, and then they sent it back to GMC to be sold simply as a used truck, believe it or not. It ended up being a workhorse on this Idaho farm, racking up 239,000 miles by the time it was parked. And what do you think they hauled with the General? Produce. Which is absolutely ironic because in the third season episode, 10-Wheel Trouble, Devin makes the comment to Michael, what will the semi be hauling? And Michael says produce, or onions, and Devin says, really, you're going to use the Foundation mobile unit to haul produce? Well, it turns out that's exactly what happened with the semi. So for many, many years, racking up hundreds of thousands of miles, it hauled produce. So to most everyone, even fans of the show, you would look at this General now and not even consider that it was ever used in the show. I mean, it had no sleeper. It had since been painted blue. It had no distinguishing characteristics that would lead anyone to believe that it was the famous General used on the series. Even the owner didn't know. But we knew, and a closer inspection revealed the truth. Besides matching the VIN to the Vista Group computer extract that we had, there were other signs. Chipped paint revealed both a previous red paint job, which, again, if you watched our previous video on the semi, you'll know that the semi was painted red for a 1985 TV movie between seasons 3 and 4. Besides that red paint job, it was also revealed that it had a previous black paint job. Yes, we saw black. Underneath the blue, underneath the red, was a black paint job. And if that wasn't enough, we found a studio tag still attached to the vehicle after all of these decades, in a spot that was completely out of sight, and if someone saw it, they wouldn't know what it was, but it was 100% consistent with even our original Knight Rider Trans Ams that we own. It was a studio applied tag that was consistent across all of the originals we've ever seen. We had found the semi, and we were determined to bring it home. So I'd like to pretend that hours and hours of negotiation happened, our brows were sweating, not knowing if we could close the deal. But in reality, it was a non-event. And with him fully aware of its Hollywood history, we told him the whole story. He agreed to the price right away, and the semi was ours. We hired a mover to transport it from its decades-long Idaho resting spot to a secure location on our property, where it's been in storage ever since. We are hoping that 2021 is the year that the restoration on this iconic piece of Knight Rider history can commence. It will be returned to its 1986 on-screen glory, so be sure to keep an eye on this channel for its resurrection. Consider also joining our Patreon supporters, so you not only get advance notice of our videos, but we'll also be releasing exclusive content not only on the restoration of the semi, but on other topics as well. And these things won't be available to the general public, so consider supporting us on Patreon. Your support helps us to be able to do things like rescue the semi and restore it. So here's what we know about the trailer. It was a 45-foot Dorsey drop van trailer, most likely manufactured between 1977 and 1982. It was given to a private individual who had ties to the studio. He then sold it in a private deal in the early to mid-2000s somewhere in Southern California. Before he sold it, the trailer was painted white or silver. It did still have the fold-down ramp in the back that Universal Studios Special Effects added. The studio, the person who sold the trailer in the mid-2000s, and the California DMV, none of them have any information on it. So, do you have a lead we could follow? If so, we would love to hear from you. Email us at knightriderhistorians@gmail.com. With your help, we might be able to reunite the semi and the trailer one day. Thanks a lot, guys. So, I hope you enjoyed this long-winded but exciting reveal. Half of the semi is saved. Now to find the trailer and the Season 1 General. Take care, guys. It's only the beginning.
And now, while we listen to Joe's selection of Knight Rider music that we received directly from Don Peake himself, we'd like to thank these Patreon supporters. Look at you guys scrolling up the screen to my right. Wait a minute, how can you tell which side is my right, since you can't see me because I'm not on camera? Oh well, you know what I mean. We're featuring these fine supporters at our Knight Rider Prop Restorer level. Thank you very much for your support. And for those of you at the Knight Rider History Hunter level, we're recognizing you right now in the description. Now, if you enjoyed seeing this golden nugget of Knight Rider history being rescued from obscurity, then please consider supporting us on Patreon. Your support would empower us to bring you even more of these historical nuggets. We are the Knight Rider Historians. Till next time, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.